Big good news, people. My second book, Murder Unmasked, in my series, The Dog Walking Detectives, is now available for pre-order on both Barnes & Noble and Amazon websites. Halloween is upon us in Diamond Glen, and that means it's time for the annual costume pup parade and masquerade ball. But when a Hollywood legend harboring a fatal secret moves into this 55-plus community, no one is safe. And yes, our dead dog narrator, Hubie, is back to once again navigate all the cozy mystery fun. Get your pre-order in for Murder Unmasked on either Barnes & Noble or Amazon. This self-published author says a huge thank you in advance. And now, here comes your brand new World Gone Good episode.
I told my students when they were getting nervous about traveling and staying in a homestay or doing something way beyond their comfort zone, a smile is a smile and a cry is a cry. It doesn't matter what language you speak. So if you can make those connections and create an authentic experience and a topic of conversation that's relevant to both of you, which, we're talking now and we're having this easy conversation, that's what we try and do for people around the world. We take away stigma, we take away preconceived ideas, and we introduce opportunities for them to see the world the way the people that live there see it. Hi, I'm Nicola Balmain, and you're entering A World Gone Good.
Well, hello, my name is Steve, and this is the place where we highlight everyday people making good happen each and every day. Welcome to World Gone Good. Okay, so I get an email from my friend Pam. You know her. She's one of the good forces behind Operation Freedom Paws and also was one of the good forces behind Wall of Hope. We did good episodes discussing both those group, had some fun times with them. So go check your episode guide and give them a listen. Well, Pam writes me about her friend Nicola and says she runs this company called Nanda Journeys. And I hear the word journey and I think travel. And you all know how I feel about travel. I'm for it. Go now. Go. Get out there and see the world. See how the world has gone good. Nanda Journeys wants you to have a connected and authentic, journey. Travel with purpose. They create and curate meaningful ways to explore the world. And by connecting with the world, we can reconnect with ourselves. Got your passport ready? Here comes Nicola to share her good story. Nicola Balmain is here with us from Nanda Journeys, and we were set up by the amazing Pam McDougall. How do you know her?
Oh my gosh, Pam McDougall. She is amazing. That's a great word to describe Pam. So Pam and I have known each other since 2001. So I moved to the States with my job from the northwest of England. I know my accent doesn't really lean into my northwest roots anymore, but I moved from England with my job. My good friend Scott, he worked at Suntrips, and we became connected to Pam.
I know her randomly through, I guess it's her sister-in-law, Jackie McDougall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Jackie, everybody gets tied together in weird ways. Jackie and I worked in television, but never met. But we knew each other's name forever, for like 25 years. And then I think Jackie suggested Pam to me first. And then I had the Operation Freedom Paws group on. And then I had her group on for Wall of Hope, which she did for a while. And then I turned the tables and had Jackie on. I'll have anybody on.
That's very cool. I did one of Jackie's podcasts actually right when she was getting started with her podcasting. Oh my gosh, about 5 years ago now.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I love how the world is always connected that way. We're if you speak to somebody for what do they say, 7 seconds, you'll find a connection somewhere or other. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. 7 degrees. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Seven
Yeah.
degrees. Yeah.
There's a way. It's always so trippy, and it's always trippy when you're like when you've known somebody by name for so long, and then you meet them, and you're like, oh my god, and you feel like you know them, but you're like, what? Do I know you?
No, exactly. And I always find that happens all the time, especially with my Irish roots. That was one of my go-to strategies when I worked for a student travel company, and we were working through some challenges with a parent or something. Their child was traveling and have something going on. One of my ways to calm them down was we'd always find an Irish connection somehow. So I'm like, I lean into my Irish roots when I need to calm somebody down and find something fun to talk about.
Or just find a pub, and you can all just meet there. It's perfect.
Yeah, that always is a good option too.
So you have a love of traveling. Where did this start from?
As far back as I can remember, even in junior school, elementary school, back in England, I always wanted to be a flight attendant. I always wanted to work in travel. I'd never been on a plane, and we'd never been outside of England. So I don't know where my love of travel came from, because we were very island nation, and I guess that's maybe where it started, was I wanted to figure out what was beyond the shores of England. So they recommended that I study travel and tourism in the city of Manchester. And that's what I did. I studied travel and tourism. And at the time, that was in the late 80s, aging myself quickly there. But there was a company in the northwest of England which was not renowned for, travel businesses. All of that was really in the south of the country, in the London area. They just had this company that was really going places and starting to do amazing things called Air Tours. And I started working for them as a reservation agent while I was in school. And I guess you could say I grew up with them, and my love of travel was rewarded through some great opportunities to work for their airline. And I worked in their customer service and their product development. And eventually that brought me here to the United States, because they bought a company out here in the States called SunTrips. And that was in 2001. And my husband and our two young kids, we thought we might come on an adventure. There's a lot more sunshine out here, so what could go wrong?
Not much. But so is it kind of, do you think people have an itch to travel that is ever fully scratched?
Yeah, it's a really good question. For me, it's never fully scratched. And then I just don't think it ever. I have a conversation with my friends, my husband, and my family. I'm like, oh my God, I hope I can always travel until I'm no longer on this planet. I just hope I never have to have somebody say to me, I don't think that's a good idea, you shouldn't go. And we'll see what happens when we get to that point. I don't ever imagine not traveling. It's like the excitement of an airport for me. That's all part of it. It's not just about the destination, it's about the journey. And I love being in a new airport. I love being on planes. I take videos upon videos of views from the sky. I have a whole folder on my phone called Views from 30,000 feet. And I don't know. I don't know where it's come from, but it's a passion that I hope it never subsides.
That's funny too, because there's usually two types of travelers. So the traveler like you and I, right, who is like, okay, we're going on a trip. I'm getting all excited to get my bag. Ooh, I'm driving to the airport. And then there's travelers like my husband, who's just like, I hate planes. I hate the airport. I hate having it. Like, he's great once we check him into the hotel and all his belongings are in the drawer. And he's an absolute friggin' horror until then.
Yeah, it's so funny. We actually just talking about this recently. I think people lose a little piece of themselves when they get to an airport. So people watching at airports and on planes.
Right.
It's fascinating. I'm like, where did you put your brain?
Look, I worked in restaurants for so many years, and I was a host and assistant manager of the Sino Trattoria down in Venice Beach, California. And it was right on the water. And it was kind of a mom and pop Italian place, pretty big place. And, the dinners were like $10 bowls of pasta. So these families would come in, with 88 kids visiting. And I used to joke, I used to say it to people. they'd walk up and talk to me in a way that like no one has ever spoken to me in my life. And I'd go, what happened between the curb when you parked the car and you took those 8 steps over here? And they'd also always start laughing. And I'd go, did you just go bananas? Like,
It's like, what happens in that moment? It's like people's brains shift. I used to fly back and forth between San Jose and Spokane, Washington for, 8 years. And I worked 1 week in California and I worked 1 week in Washington State. And there was a guy, I don't know his name, so I can't shame him, but he would board last. And I was fortunate enough to get upgraded because I flew that route every other week.
Right.
And I'd be in first class and I knew all the flight attendants and they were all amazing. And he would board last, almost making us late and be as obnoxious as they come, and couldn't find any space for his overhead bag. And I said to him one day, why do you board so late and give everybody such a hard time when you know the drill? It's not like you're doing this like for the first time. And I could see the flight attendant, she gasped. She's like, oh my God, did you just say that? I'm like, you're so rude to the flight attendants, but you fly all the time. Why do you do that? And he burst out laughing. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Like,
did he have a reason?
No, he just said, I don't know. Thanks for calling me out. I'm like, really, dude? It's like, it's so weird that you would treat people so poorly and you do this all the time.
This is funny because I know someone too who used to purposely, I don't speak to this person anymore, but he used to purposely wait for them to page him 3 times before getting on the plane. It was like a drill. Like T Brown or whatever, name it is. This is your, we're waiting for T Brown once, twice. Then he get on the 3rd time. Well, one time they paged him 1 time and then shut the doors. And he got up in a panic and rushed over and they said, we called you. Yeah. And he's like, but you didn't call me the 2nd and 3rd time. And they said, sorry. And he raised holy hell.
Yeah.
And
I don't understand.
When he told us the story, we're like, what were you trying to accomplish? Like,
yeah, I don't know. How do you get into somebody's brain when they behave like that? Is like all eyes on me? They like the attention, or did they want to feel important? I don't know. I never quite figured the guy out, but all, fair play to him. He burst out laughing and he said, yeah, you called me out on the carpet there and I appreciate it. I'm like, this could be a really long 2 hours.
Or this could be like a life-changing moment for him.
Yeah. It's like, I think once people are called on it, I don't know. It happened to me in a pharmacy once too. The pharmacist was being so mean. And I just said to him, are you having a bad day that we need to talk about this? Because you have expertise that I have no knowledge of, and I just need to know how to take allergy medicine. That's all I need to know from you. And you seem really cross about that. So.
I found so many times in life is like when someone is, for lack of a better word, dicky or douchey to me, what I normally do is I make them repeat it. I smile and go, what's that? Or I go, what? And they said it a second, then I go, I didn't hear you right. What? And then the 3rd time they sort of slow it down and realize that I'm nodding so they know, oh shit, he's making me repeat. Oh my God, I sound crazy. Okay, I'm going to walk away right now. That's usually what you hope would happen in situations
you would
like
hope.
that.
I guess there are those occasions where it doesn't quite go that route.
Now, you at some point took such an interest in your travel world that you created a company called Nanda Journeys. Where does the name itself come from?
So Nanda is a Sanskrit word. It's Ananda, but I shortened it to Nanda, and it means joy and happiness in Sanskrit. And that came to me because I was laid off from my corporate job and student travel, and I'd never been laid off from a job before or not determined my next step. So this was a whole new thing for me. And I was in a yoga class contemplating what might be next. And the corporate world was not it, or at least I was hoping it wouldn't be it because I'd kind of run that path. And the word joy and happiness just kept coming into my mind. And my husband said, why don't you set up your own company? You've, talked about this before. Why don't you just do it? It's such a scary thought. And I'm like, why not just do it? And I researched the word joy and happiness in different languages. And I'm like, okay, I love travel. I love language. Let's see what hits. And India is one of my heart destinations. I have a love of travel and I love everywhere, but I have certain countries that hit my heart a certain way, and India is one of them. So I'm like, Nanda Journeys. That just sounds fun. And instantaneously, kind of the words travel for people with purpose and passion flew in. I'm like, all right, I guess that's the name of my company. And that's the ethos of, I want people to feel joy and happiness, and not just my clients, but the people we touch and interact with and enjoy experiences with. So that's how that little thing came about.
This is so great because we talk to a lot of entrepreneurs on here and a lot of people who open their own companies. And I opened my own company in 2012 and I closed it in 2019 or 2018. And I just reopened it again because I fell back into the corporate world and fell out of it. And I always say this is like, look, the corporate jobs and the jobs out there to work from somebody else, you can always go back to that. That's always there. And every time a friend of mine goes, should I try this? Should I try this? Should I try this? What's stopping you? Fear. That's what's stopping you.
Fear of failure and fear of ourselves, right? We don't want anybody judging us for not doing something right, or what is right, really?
Or the unknown, right? Because it was so safe in this other world and I have my place in it. But now, well, you're never going to find out if you don't just take a chance. So travel excites you and you start your own company, but you wanted to give your company purpose. Mm-hmm. Why was that so important to you?
So I worked in what I would say is like traditional travel for a really long time. So in the 90s, travel was getting super, super popular from England. It was accessible in a way that it had never been accessible for working class people before. They were introducing the concept of charter flights that took you to the Caribbean and all these destinations that a lot of English folks had never really envisioned ever being able to access before. And that was great. So that's what I call kind of like that traditional model, beach vacations, having a great time, having fun. And that was wonderful. And I enjoyed that part of my journey in travel. I learned so much, connected to a lot of people. But then when I started working in student travel, I realized that there was a whole new way of seeing the world. And it was engaging with people, people connections. I worked for a company called People to People. And it was a concept that was introduced by President Eisenhower after the World War II. He figured the only way to really prevent people from being opposed to each other was to have connections with each other. And if you had connections with each other, you're far more likely to negotiate your way out of something than take up arms. So the concept really resonated with me. And we also had a part of the company that did career enrichment journeys. So we connected doctors, lawyers, nurses, educators, dentists with their counterparts overseas. And I just stumbled into that being part of my remit. In fact, I asked for it because it was going to be kind of tossed to one side and thrown away. And I begged the president of the company not to cancel that program because there was just so much value in it. And I fell in love with it, took it on as a side project. And I think that was the universe somehow setting me up for where we are today with Nanda Journeys. Because 3 years later, the company closed. So People to People closed the doors. I was part of the layoff. And the concept of connecting people for purpose, but also you can explore another country and see the country through different eyes. I love that. And being able to have an impact not only on your client who's embarking on a journey that's sometimes it's a bucket list journey, sometimes it's just a country they've always wanted to visit, but ultimately they're going there with purpose. They want to experience something new. And then if we can make all of those connections around that experience be positive on the community, protecting the cultural heritage of a destination, it's really hard now in a lot of remote locations or rural locations of different countries for the heritage to be exciting to young people because there's no money in it. But there's a lot of money in it in entrepreneurship and tourism and being able to be part of a community of people that love travel but love their community more. It's exciting. It keeps every day exciting, and that's the purpose. It's my purpose. It's why I do what I do. And if we can keep your dollars local to the block that you're in, wherever you're at, that does so much more to advance a developing nation, to empower women in particular. We work with a lot of women empowerment organizations that are providing tourism opportunities to them. That eventually provides economic independence for their families, which means that their kids are more likely to go to school, which means that the community development beyond that is going to be sustained into the future and provide for those people. That's what gives me purpose. So it's less about the destination over time for me, because all destinations are exciting, and it's more about the people connection.
So there's an authenticity going on here.
I think so. I believe so. We're all the same wherever you go in the world. I just got back from Africa. I told my students when they were getting nervous about traveling and staying in a homestay or doing something way beyond their comfort zone, a smile is a smile and a cry is a cry. It doesn't matter what language you speak. So if you can make those connections and create an authentic experience and a topic of conversation that's relevant to both of you, which, we're talking now and we're having this easy conversation, that's what we try and do for people around the world. We take away stigma, we take away preconceived ideas, and we introduce opportunities for them to see the world the way the people that live there see it. And that can be great. It could be not great. The good, bad, and the ugly. It's like, let's not exist in a world where we pretend everything's perfect. And I think that's important as well when you're traveling, is to understand the challenges of the place you're visiting. And then you get to decide whether or not you want to be part of its future potential, or, do you want to help in any way, or do you just want to understand it? That's how we'll understand the culture. It's how we'll understand why we all get up and operate on a different wavelength every day. And it doesn't matter whether you live in Uganda in the middle of the rainforest right next to the gorillas, or you're down the street here in Northern California. All the same. And opportunity is key. And if we can make a connection that provides opportunity for people through so many different ways that can happen. But if you don't create the opportunity, then the outcome never happens.
It's interesting because you have two things on your website. You have current journeys and you have bespoke journeys. Can you tell us the difference between the two? Because, I'll just say really quickly, we'll be in touch because Costa Rica is on my list. We'll talk about that later. But tell everybody what the difference between like a regular vacation. I don't want to say a regular vacation, but a vacation, and then what a bespoke journey means and what that means to you when you put those together.
Yeah, the current journeys, they are the small groups that we've already curated with maybe an association or a university or a special interest group, and they are already scheduled. We've designed the program with the leader that is passionate about the topic, and anybody can join those. And if those are exciting to you, we warmly welcome you. Even if the topic of healthcare doesn't sound exciting, but the destination does, then there's a guest program always.
Oh, nice.
So people can join any program, and the bespoke journeys, we curate the program around you. So let's say Costa Rica. Say, okay, Steve, tell me a little bit about why do you want to go to Costa Rica? Like, what are you passionate about? What are your interests? What do you get excited about? What do you hate? What do you say, do not include this in my itinerary? It's
Snakes.
Never ever gonna.
Snakes,
right.
Spiders.
All right, we're on the one level there then.
Lava. I'm against lava.
No, lava's pretty. You just got to be far enough away from it.
That is true. That is true. Lava at a distance. Lava is pretty.
Yeah, go to Iceland right now. There's plenty of lava.
Right.
So yeah, we have a conversation and it's an iterative process. I mean, we love creating things around people's passions as well. So, that could be knitting or crochet, or it could be food and wine, or it could be arts and photography. Whatever your passion is, we're here to elevate that passion and allow you to explore the world while still doing what you love to do. And that helps with the conversation, right? So if you're passionate about something and we connect you to somebody in a completely different alien country that's also passionate about that particular subject, you're likely to hit it off, you're likely to really connect, and you're likely to learn a lot more and to experience that country in a depth and what's the word I'm looking for? Authentic. You said authentic earlier. I think we use that a lot, but it's true. If you connect with somebody that's also passionate about something that you care deeply about, you're going to learn a lot more, and you might get invited to their studio that wasn't on the itinerary, or there's all these kismet connections that happen, and it's all done through purposeful passion, right? And that's what I love about the programs that we design, because everyone's different. So we don't have a catalog. I don't send you, hey, go choose from this catalog and tell me where you want to go. It's like, tell me what you care about. Like, what do you want to see? And then we design the program around that.
I love that. And I've said this on the show before when we've had other travel conversations. Like, one thing I do in many, many cities, and I did it in Rome, is we got in a cab and he asked us where to. And I say to him, in perfect English, because I didn't speak any Italian at the time, but I said, where do you go to dinner?
Yeah.
And he said, to my brother's. Mm-hmm. And I said, great. I go, will we like it? And he goes, yes, you will. And he took us all the way up into this hill, mm-hmm. and dropped us off and gave us a card and said, give this to my brother or to anyone, and they'll call me. I'll come pick you up. We went into this place and no one spoke English.
Awesome.
It was packed. We were welcomed with open arms. They cleared a table for us. They poured us wine. There was a whole fish bar, and there was a pasta bar, and then they were just bringing us things, and it was such an exciting experience. There was music, and it was all the locals, and it felt like a connection, because I feel at this point, it's something we talk about on the show a lot, is we're all not all of us, many of us are feeling a disconnect.
Yeah.
And nothing connects us better than we sit down at coffee, mm-hmm. Or for a meal and just talk to one another.
Yep. It's so true. And I love that you said that. It makes my heart so happy, because we try and include a home dinner, no matter whether or not we're creating a bespoke journey for somebody traveling solo, or as a small group, or a multi-generational, or however you're traveling. Being in somebody's home and breaking bread together and having a conversation is so rewarding. And listen to you now, listen to the passion in your voice talking about that meal. And how many meals do you talk about that elicits that kind of passion, right? You'll remember it forever.
I think it's so important too, because I know a lot of Americans who act big and tough, but they're terrified to travel. And they're terrified of the unknown, of what it is to get out of your comfort zone, and also not have, with all due respect, your go-to McDonald's, your go-to Subway, your go-to Starbucks, to go and just walk in and try new things and see what you get when you go in there. And maybe it'll be great, and maybe it won't. And then, sometimes when it's not so great, that's as good of a story later on than when it is great.
Oh my God. Yeah. Some of the biggest travel disasters have always been the biggest stories, I mean,
right.
That's the one thing about travel. It's never ever going to be straightforward and perfect. And there are lots of lessons there too. It's what are we really scared of? There's lots of things to be scared of in our own country, our own states, our own communities, but it's the scared that we know.
Right.
But there's really not many other scareds out there. It's all the same, but it's what you know, right? So I think that's a conversation. I think it's a little excusatory, honestly. And people say, well, would you go to this place because it's so dangerous? I'm like, more dangerous than what? Like, we have those challenges here too.
Right. And I think also, I mean, I've spoken about this on the show many times, is like when younger creatives ask me, and I've joked about it, like there's some freaking, line out the door, Steve, share your wisdom. No, when younger creatives ask me what my number one piece of advice is, I've said it so many times on here, it's travel. Because some of the best sparks I've ever had in my life creatively have come from getting out of my comfortable, going to a new place, opening, um, the synapses in my brain and the the endorphins that start rushing and all the things you're going to see and smell and taste and look at and talk to and hear. And that's very exciting. So on that note, I have to ask you, do you have families who come to you and say, for instance, we want to take, somewhat of an educational or a give back kind of trip?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we have, a lot of, like, say, multi-generational or families, or it could be a milestone birthday you're celebrating. But we do a lot of, I call it community tourism. And we even try and infuse that into our standard programming. We do it in such a subtle way. What do they say? Putting the Brussels sprouts in the what? What is that we're supposed to do as parents? How do we feed our kids the Brussels sprouts? I don't know.
Chocolate? I don't know either.
I've forgotten now. My kids are so old, they've forgotten. But it's, if you can support a community project whilst also learning something and getting something back. And I recently did something in Tanzania. We went to a program called Shanga. And Shanga is a nonprofit that's set up for artisans, and they have different abilities, just differently abled. So they might be blind or deaf, or they have maybe just one arm, but then they make the most beautiful products out of recycled paper and glass. And the whole facility is a lesson in sustainability, but it's also a lesson in being a little bit humble about how we judge people and their abilities, So, but that's a great experience because we brought some great jewelry and some great artwork, and you're doing it in such a way that you don't feel like you're staring down the issue, they're teaching you something, and they're enjoying themselves and you're enjoying yourself. So being involved in the local community and supporting the nonprofit agenda, I think, is really important, but also be very, very mindful. There are a lot of there are a lot of bad nonprofits out there. There's a lot of masquerading goes on, unfortunately. So definitely have a conversation with a few people if you're going to travel the world, and make sure that you're supporting a community that is putting their money back into their cause and not doing not very nice things with it. Heard some horror stories, and it's important that you have a conversation with a lot of people before you do that.
Where is left for you to go to on the bucket list? What's the dream location now?
Oh gosh, there are still so many. Until I visited every country in the world, the bucket list isn't complete for me. But the elusive seventh continent, Antarctica, is next. And I'm hoping to do that in 2026. So Antarctica is definitely on my list. But my goodness, so many other places. I think I'm up to 55 countries now.
Wow.
And there's a lot more to go.
Wow. I know we have, there's a couple on ours. I want to go to one of those ice hotels.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with an ice hotel. That talking about it for years. And Costa Rica is on the list. We almost made it to Paris. I haven't been to Paris. We were in London. And we had just been going because we got to New York first. We did something we've always wanted to do. We went to New York, and I'm from New York, but we went to the city for 3 nights, then on to London, then back to New York City for 2 nights, and then came home. Because
Awesome.
every flight we looked at, and you're going to be proud of me, round trip fares for Santa Barbara to Newark, and then later Newark to London, return, all in, I got us both for under $1,000.
Wow.
Yeah, I really searched around and I was able to do it, and I didn't, wasn't too crazy, but it was so great to go and not do a giant flight, do a, 5-hour flight to New York, take a break for a couple of days, do another 5-hour flight to London. We enjoyed London so much, but we had been going for like 6 days, and we were in 2 different countries, and we were about to get on the train the next morning at 6 a.m. and go do Paris for the day. And at the last minute, we woke up and I just said, don't kill me.
Too tired.
I'm too tired. I'm not going to enjoy this. It's my own fault. I've planned way too much. And I said, can we just take today off? And he said, yeah. So we just took the day off, and it was really wonderful to just be like, what are we doing? We're going to walk around Paddington. Great. We're going to walk around Notting Hill. Great. And then it hit about 2 p.m. and I said, do you want to go over to Kew Gardens? Which is a little bit of a trek, but I said, I want to see that, and maybe we can just go. And then that was like the best thing we did.
It's so funny that you honor yourself in that moment too, but to, just sometimes just go with the flow and see what happens. But there are so many ways of getting to Europe, especially from the East Coast. And there's so many new airlines coming on board that are making it a lot more affordable as well to do that, which is, it's getting easier and easier to see the world. And I'm so excited that people's energy for it is totally ramped up again, which is fantastic.
Where do people find you? Where do people find your website, and how do they get to know you more?
They can find us online at nandajourneys.com, Nanda journeys.com.
And the final 2 questions we ask everybody in every episode we do. Question number 1 is this: who inspires you?
So in the travel space, Anthony Bourdain inspires me because he's just so authentic. He always turned up as himself, and he knew he was no perfect specimen. None of us are, but he wanted to dive in and just get to know the local people. And he was not embarrassed about doing it his way. And I think that's very inspiring to us. And from an inspiration perspective, I would say, my mom inspired me. She's not with us anymore, but she inspired me to always be my true, authentic self. And it took me a long while to get there, but I know what she meant now.
The final question is not a question. It is a statement to finish any way you like. Can be about travel, can be about life, can be anything that comes to your head. Finish this sentence. Tell me something good.
Good is in everybody, everywhere, all over the world.
Thank you, Nicola, for literally sharing your good journey. Next time on World Gone Good.
I wanted to inspire people and give people hope. And when I read the cards in 2020, I thought, oh my God, these cards apply today even more so than they did when I wrote them.
Jerry Jewell is a funny person, a comedian, in fact, who just also happens to have been born with cerebral palsy. A Norman Lear discovery, she became known to millions by playing Cousin Jerry on The Facts of Life. And that's just the beginning of her good story. We are going to chat it up about her new book, Jerry's Jewels and Gems, what it's like to grow up in a funny family, how she got in the back door of the Comedy Store by using the actual back door, and what happened when she finally met her own idol, the one and only Carol Burnett. It's such a good one. I can't wait for you to hear it. Until then, be good.